Hey everybody, welcome back to Self-Help Witch. It's me, Dana, and today we're talking about new moon rituals. I want to take you behind the scenes of my Cancer new moon ritual, specifically because I want to demystify how to create your own rituals. So I'm going to share with you my framework for how I build a ritual, and then take you through step by step what I did for the Cancer new moon in June of 2025 to show you how you can use the building blocks of my framework to build your own rituals, whether that's for a new moon or full moon or just a ritual of any kind. If you're new here, I'm Dana. I'm an astrologer, I'm a witch, I'm a teacher, and I'm the creator of Self-Help Witch. You can find me on Instagram at Self-Help Witch. I'm on Substack, I'm on YouTube, and on my website, selfhelpwitch.com. So before I take you behind the scenes of what I actually did for this new moon, I want to introduce you to the 3R framework. This is something I've created over the last several years of following other people's prescribed rituals, experimenting with my own. What I love about the 3R framework is that it can allow for a fluid structure, which I personally definitely need. I have a lot of Pisces and a lot of Gemini energy, two mutable signs, and I don't like to be locked in to one way of doing things, especially when every lunation calls for something different. However, I do recognize that some people want that consistency. The cool thing about the 3R framework is that it can give you either end of that spectrum. It can be super fluid, it can be super set, or anything in between. So here's what it is: release, reconnect, and rebuild. These are the 3 core components that I feel make a complete ritual. These are also the 3 phases inside Homecoming, which is my core offer where I help people heal from self-abandonment, from low self-worth, from self-doubt, reconnect to their own spirit, and go through a spiritual rebirth. So when we're taking the 3R framework from a ritual point of view and how to build a ritual, this is what it looks like. Release has to do with being in your body. We release the connection to our mind. Now, that's not to say that we're not thinking at all, but it's the idea that we're getting out of our conscious critical mind and into our bodies. Now, the reason we want to do this is because when you're engaging in ritual, you're reconnecting to your spirit. And in order to do that, you need to downshift. You need to get out of the part of your awareness that is critical, that is doubting, that is going to tell you this is stupid, this is pointless, or even if it's not that deep, is just focused on the to-do list or what's next or what happened earlier. We need to, again, downshift into something that's more embodied. And this is where people get a little confused, I think, with their spiritual practice, because they think that because we're talking about spirit, we need to somehow transcend our bodies. But the gag that people miss is your body is the portal. It is the way in to connecting to your spirit. So we need to do something that's going to help us get in our bodies. There are lots and lots of ways you can do that. I'm going to tell you what I did in this ritual, and inside Homecoming, I have a whole dashboard of tons of different things you can do. But in any case, you need to do some kind of release work that helps you release the connection to the thinking mind that wants to chatter and stay busy, so you can downshift into your body. The next part of the 3R framework is reconnect. This is where we reconnect with our inner wisdom, which is to say our spirit or our higher self. I call it the expansive self. Whatever you want to call it, you're reconnecting with that deeper part of you. And you're able to do that because you released the connection to your conscious mind. That's where we get the wisdom. It's where we get the insight. It's where we get the downloads. Then the final R in the 3R framework is to rebuild. In the rebuild phase, we take some kind of aligned action. Now, in the context of a ritual, that could be putting the ingredients in your spell jar, for example, and activating that spell. It doesn't have to be I go out and do something in the world, but I think that is a good way to reinforce your magical action. In my humble opinion, a magical action, meaning a spell or an intention you set or anything that you're doing that's more of an energetic action, should be reinforced with a mundane aligned action. And I'm going to show you how I did that in my new moon ritual today that I'm about to break down for you. But let's just recap for a second what the 3R framework is and how it all works together. So first we release, we do something that gets us out of our minds and into our bodies so that we can then reconnect to our spirit, our inner wisdom. And then finally, we use the insight we get from that reconnection moment to rebuild, to do something that will support and help us embody that wisdom energetically, from a mundane point of view, or ideally both. Let's get into what I actually did for the Cancer new moon. And I want to share this with you because it can give you an idea of how fluid and flexible the 3R framework is, as well as just how these pieces might look when you put them all together. For me, I like to start my new moon ritual on the dark moon. This is something I started doing when I was working more closely with Hecate. I don't call on her now to help me with my spell work. I really just honor her on my altar and at the dark moon. So you don't have to be a devotee of Hecate to work with the dark moon or do stuff on the dark moon, but that's just how I ended up doing stuff on the dark moon. So for me, that means my new moon ritual began the night before the actual new moon, which is when the dark moon is. So what that entails for me is cleaning. I start by cleaning what I call my Zen den, which is this room that I record all of my stuff for Self-Help Witch in and do my readings in. It's where I work out, it's where I meditate, it's where my main altar lives. So I just started by cleaning the space. That means sweeping the floor, that means dusting up my altar, rearranging the items there. And from there, I wanted to go ahead and do some breath work. This is where the release part of the 3R framework came in for me. So I set myself up in fish pose, which is where you lay on your back and you arrange yoga blocks to be in between your shoulder blades, right around where, if you wear a bra, your bra strap might be, really just in between your shoulder blades in the middle part of your back, right underneath your heart space, and then another block right underneath your head. This allows the heart to open up. So I wanted to do a calming breathwork practice for this new moon. And I chose that very intentionally for a couple of reasons. One, I was still recovering from an illness. I got food poisoning like 2 days before this ritual was taking place, and I was still not feeling great. I also knew that I was prepping for a Cancer new moon, which is all about feeling supported. And I was, during the dark moon, having my own personal lunar return because my personal natal moon is in Gemini, and that's where the dark moon was taking place. So all of that information put together informed my choice to release in this way, to choose a calming breathwork practice and put myself in a yoga position that would allow me to relax and open up my heart space. It's hard for me sometimes to get out of my head and into my body, so I really like to get all of my senses involved, which is why I incorporated both breath work and a yoga pose. I tend to do better releasing when I've set my body up in a way where I can truly relax, and then I incorporate something else like a guided meditation, like breath work. If you're new to breath work, I really love the app Open. I'm gonna link to an affiliate link down below if you want to check it out. I really like it because it's got this timer function and you can choose the different kind of breath that you want to do. So if we were talking about a new moon in Gemini, for example, I might do something more like the 3-part breath that's more invigorating. It's where you go in, and then out. So, and it really wakes your body up, that feels more mutable air to me, right? But because of the type of energy we were working with leading into a Cancer new moon, and because of how I was feeling, I chose a different type of breath. But open allows you to like choose a different time length, and it allows you to choose a different type of breath. So I really like it. Now, once I finished my breath work, I went ahead and set up my moon water. I knew I wanted to create moon water with this new moon because we're talking about a new moon in Cancer, and it's just a gorgeous moon. So why moon water for a new moon in Cancer? Cancer is a cardinal water sign. And because the moon is at home in Cancer, and because Jupiter was within a degree of the new moon, it was just after the Jupiter Cazimi, which is when Jupiter and the sun are in the same place. It's a great setup for Jupiter. Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. I knew I wanted to capture the energy of this new moon. So I took 2 vials from my supplies, which I got from my grandma's house. After she passed, we had to clean out our house, and I got all kinds of incredible things from her house. Grandma, I love you. If you're listening, thank you. And I just thought that these cute little vials were so aesthetic. I'd been saving them for something special, so I decided to fill them with water to create a little altar on my windowsill and put those vials on that altar. And to make it more of an altar and less of just a straight up windowsill, I took a cloth that I made in a shibori workshop and just folded that up so it was a little more special. And I loved that it happened to be blue because, one, that was my grandma's favorite color. Cancer is about ancestors quite a bit as well. So I was using a lot of my grandma's stuff, not necessarily on purpose, but because I found that it was perfect for what I needed. And then I loved that it also tied back to Cancer in some way. So that was a neat synchronicity that I didn't plan, but worked out really nicely. Now, the moon water, all you need to do to create it is just put it somewhere where it can see the sky. And I still, as I record this, because right now it's like hours after the Cancer new moon, my moon water is still on my altar because I put that moon water there during the dark moon. I wanted it to see the night sky and be there when the full moon perfected, which was happening at 5 in the morning. So I left it there, and I'm leaving it there until the moon leaves Cancer. I think other people might do that differently, but that was my approach in this particular ritual. From there, my reconnect moment was my tarot. This is where, after releasing, after my breath work, etc., I was going to connect to my wisdom. And I took a little more time before drawing my tarot to cleanse again. So I went ahead and lit some incense and cleansed the whole room with smoke, which is something I almost never do, but I felt called to do. I wanted to really make sure the space was energetically cleansed before trying to tune in. So I did that. I sat down at my tarot table and I asked the question, what do I need to know to create my intention for tomorrow? Because I knew the day of the new moon, the next day, the next morning, I was going to create a spell jar. I was going to write an intention on a piece of paper and then put it in a jar with some herbs, with whatever I decided needed to go in, and go ahead and set the intention with the new moon. So I wanted to use the reconnect moment of the dark moon to get some insight on what that intention should be. So I received some insight from my tarot deck, and then I went ahead and called it a day for the dark moon part of my ritual. Now you might be wondering, where's the rebuild here? How did you use that information? But I already had a plan for how I was going to use it. Remember, I was going to take the insight from my tarot during the dark moon and use it to write an intention for the new moon and let myself sit with it overnight and see if anything came through in my dreams. I did have some very strange dreams the night of the dark moon leading into the new moon. There wasn't an apparent connection to me between the tarot reading I had and the dreams that I had, which I don't want to explain the whole dream to you because you'd be like, wow, that's really fucking weird, and I don't know what that's all about. But essentially, I woke up with a feeling of being displaced. I guess is the best way to say it. Feeling not at ease and feeling like I needed to hustle and figure things out. That did start to make sense to me when I arrived back in the Zen Den for my new moon ritual. So once I arrived in my space for my new moon ritual, I knew that I needed to reconnect and start with the release phase. I needed to get out of my mind and into my body, which truthfully is easier to do in the morning for me. The day is fresh. I did have that funky dream in my mind, and so I wanted to just take a moment to tune back in. Now, I'm a big fan of the Chani app. I'm obsessed with her content, with her perspective. I just think she's fabulous, and I think the Chani app is by far the best astrology app and the best value too. She puts out a complete ritual kit, which is great if you're just getting started. I find that I use bits and pieces from it and make my ritual my own using the 3R framework. So in this case, I used the meditation that she offered for the new moon as my release moment. So I actually ended up sitting up on my meditation cushion and using my yoga blocks to support my knees and doing that 13-minute meditation. I was able to get some good insight about what this intention should be from that meditation. Now, as far as the insight I got from the tarot reading during the dark moon, I decided after that meditation, that was more advice for me to lock in, that because that information and insight was more of here's what not to do instead of here's what to do. So I decided that was not going to be a part of the intention, and instead I was going to focus on the clarity that I had just received from the meditation on the new moon. So I went ahead and wrote my intention. I created a sigil, and as I wrote that intention and created the sigil, which by the way is just a magical symbol. It's like a carrier for the intention. I really focused on the feeling that I cultivated during the meditation. I really tried to infuse it throughout my body as I was writing the intention. It was interesting because the meditation was the release part, but it also ended up facilitating and really becoming the reconnect part. It helped me reconnect to my inner wisdom and gave me the insight I needed to go ahead and create the intention in the spell jar, which I would say was a huge component of the rebuild phase where I'm taking some kind of action. Now with my spell jar, I decided to include my intention that I wrote on a piece of paper with the sigil. I rolled it up towards me as I felt really deeply that feeling that I experienced in the meditation. I put it in the jar, and then I put some herbs in there as well. I decided to put lavender and chamomile, hyssop, and pumpkin pie spice, which includes cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg. This was a pretty intuitive choice. It was based on what I had on hand already. I liked the lavender and chamomile because the Dark Moon Tarot reading told me that I'm trying too hard. In my professional life, I'm really forcing a strategy when I should be relaxing into it and going more from the heart. So I liked lavender and chamomile for that as a way to relax with lavender, and then chamomile as a way to connect to the solar plexus because it's yellow. So joy, right? Let's just be joyful and light about this. Hyssop is a all-purpose cleansing herb as far as I'm concerned. And when I chose it, I thought this is a nice herb to include just to, I don't know if I like the word purify, but it did feel like an herb I needed to include to clear the air, so to speak. And then I included the pumpkin pie spice because cinnamon gets things moving, and then nutmeg and allspice just felt like good supporting actors here. So again, it was pretty intuitive. I didn't really consult any resources or books on what to add there. I just looked at what I had and said these things belong. I put the herbs in the spell jar, I shook it up, and then I added some of my moon water. And I felt called to do that because the new moon had already perfected by then. So we were in the, what a lot of people call the magical new moon, which is where the new moon has happened and now the moon is waxing again. So the moon has passed the sun. This is where the energy starts to build. For me, my new moon water was ready to use, and I just put half of one of my vials into the jar. And currently I have both vials and my spell jar sitting on my windowsill altar, and I will keep them there until the moon makes its way into Leo and is no longer in Cancer. Now, after all of that, I decided to do tarot again. You might be thinking, you already did release, reconnect, rebuild. What else is there to do? I wanted to go deeper because I felt that my dark moon reading was telling me what not to do, and I was looking for insight about how to move forward with this intention. What do I need to do instead of what do I not need to do? And so I took some time to tune back into myself because I had just done my spell jar. Then I went ahead and did a Celtic cross reading. I don't always do a Celtic cross. Often I'll just do 3 cards, or I'll do something called the work spread, which comes from Rachel Pollack's book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom. Definitely my favorite tarot book if you're in the market for a tarot book. And in that Celtic cross, I got some really good wisdom, some really great insight about what needs to shift in order for me to allow the seed of the intention I planted to grow. After that tarot reading, I decided I needed to go back to the rebuild phase and do a more mundane aligned action. And because this new moon is happening in my 10th house, which is the house of career, vocation, public roles, and I'm in the middle of the grand opening of Homecoming, which I mentioned earlier in this talk, I decided that I was going to send an email about Homecoming that was different than the emails I had sent before, because one of the key messages I got from that reading was you need to speak from the heart. And it really did nicely connect back to the reading that I did on the dark moon. The general vibe from both of them was to be yourself, to speak from the heart, to think less about how it will be received and think more about what it is you feel needs to be said. Which actually brings me to this recording today. But the first piece of that mundane aligned action was I'm going to send an email that I'm going to write from the heart. And I know that is the right move for me. So that was it. That was my full ritual. And truthfully, it was a little more involved than what I usually do. I don't know if I would typically do 2 tarot readings, but I knew that this new moon was special, and I really wanted to luxuriate in my spiritual practice for this and see what good wisdom and action and insight I could get from it. So if I could leave you with a couple of tips, now that you know the 3R framework, you can grab either the Lunar Ritual Guide, the Magical Life Starter Kit. These are 2 freebies I have that will both help you create rituals. The Lunar Ritual Guide is obviously focused on lunar rituals. The Magical Life Starter Kit has a table with different activities for the 3R framework. If you're looking for more guidance on how to do that, you could use them together to create a really powerful lunar ritual or just any ritual you want. But aside from the 3R framework and everything I've shared here today, I would say keep it intuitive. If you're brand new to this and you're like, I'm feeling very out of my element and I need a lot of prescribed actions, that's okay. You can make it very step by step and still be intuitive as you're doing it. The whole point of a ritual to me, beyond creating an outcome or setting an intention or whatever we're trying to do in the ritual, is to reconnect to yourself. That is the most important outcome, I think, of any ritual, is it connects you with your truth, with your honesty. And the way that you do that is by listening to your intuition. What do you feel called to do? How do you feel called to arrange your altar? How do you feel called to release from the day and tune back into your body? Just allowing your intuition to speak to you. And your intuition comes from your gut feelings, your body. So tune into your body. And then along with that, just trusting yourself. When you're first getting started, and even when you're not first getting started, sometimes you feel silly. And it takes dedication and practice and just coming back over and over again to your rituals to start to feel more confident in your intuition and in what you're doing. And that your rituals are not silly. They are reconnecting you to your spirit, to your guides, to creative consciousness. It's rebuilding your trust. And it's doing that through you trusting yourself, that this is what I need, so this is what I'm doing. So trust that it means something, and trust that you know what you need in this ritual space. And then finally, it should feel good. It should feel really good. Now, again, you might feel a little awkward the first couple times you participate in a ritual. You might feel a little nervous even, especially if you grew up in a more dogmatic religious environment where this kind of thing was seen as evil. You might feel a little unsettled. And if that's the case, I would say take a little more time in the release part of things. You want to allow that fear to dissipate before you move into your ritual, because you don't want to take that with you. So give yourself the time and space you need to feel comfortable enough to access that deeper wisdom, that deeper intuition, so that you can trust yourself throughout the ritual, so that you can feel really good about it. Because that's what we're after here. We want to feel safe, secure, and confident in our spirit. I hope this was super helpful. I'm very excited to create more content like this for you guys. Please let me know what questions you have. You can check out those free resources I mentioned down below, as well as Homecoming. Until next time, happy Cancer New Moon. I'll see you later. Bye.